Peace and welcome to The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a great show lined up for you today. A lot to talk about. First and foremost, President Biden has visited Buffalo, where that racist terrorist attack took place this past weekend. And he had some very, very harsh words to say about racism and white supremacy and the great race replacement theory. We'll have the latest around those comments. Also, when violent videos go viral, we'll talk about what we saw, what some of us may have seen with the Buffalo mass shooting, and why this is a problem in America. We'll have that conversation. And 1 million COVID cases, folks. There is a somber milestone that we have reached, where we are looking at 1 million COVID cases, 1 million people who have lost their lives to this pandemic. We show our respects and talk about what's next. Later, let's talk about the baby formula shortage that is happening across the country and why breastfeeding may not be an option. We'll have that discussion. And then, of course, we got trends, posts, and doing the most. So stay with us. A lot to get to on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the show. Man, oh man, we got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. President Biden has made his trip from Washington to Buffalo today, giving an emotional speech about racism, white supremacy, the replacement theory, and so much more. As he landed on he had a chance to meet with the victims' families and some of the residents of Buffalo after that horrific mass shooting this past Saturday that was done by 18-year-old Peyton Gendron. And so the president had an emotional, a lot of strong language that he used to condemn what Peyton Gendron has done and to condemn the continued promulgation of white supremacy. Here to talk to us a little bit about us is culture crew member Lise Winnie, who serves as the host of Millennials Anonymous podcast that can be heard on all podcast streaming platforms. Lise, thank you so much. It's always good to talk to you on Tuesdays. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. We're going to be playing with just a little bit of what President Biden had to say around this issue. But one of the big things that stuck out for me is that he said, a quote, "White supremacy is a poison," end quote. Very, very powerful quote. My question, Lisa, is does this powerful plea that the president has put forth to the American people, will it resonate, and will it make any substantial change in policy or culture of this country around race relations? What's your take on that?
I don't know if it will necessarily change the environment of the culture right now, given the fact that I think that we're in such a polarized place. You have Democrats and Republicans, you have white and black and Asian, and there's just so much going on where people are just divisive. And I think that it starts with, of course, our country that was founded upon racism. Racism was one of the pillars of actually creating America. So it's something that I think will always, unfortunately, be in the fabric or the underlying. Listen, this guy, this racist zealot was 18. He was 18 years old. So it's not like he was an old guy. He was very, very young. So this shows that people are still being taught these things. And I think that we do need to get to the basis of what's causing this, because I think a lot of times people mask this and they go under this umbrella of racism, of blaming others because of their own anger and hatred they have within themselves. And so we do need to figure that part out. But no, I honestly don't think that this is going to cure racism, if that's what you're asking.
No. Please. That's asking too much, Lisa. I'm not even expecting that at this point. What I'm expecting is some sort of policy change. What am I expecting is some hard stance that the president is going to take or his administration will take to either punish and penalize white supremacist activity in this country, or do more for Black people in this country. That's what I'm expecting. I don't expect President Biden to eradicate racism anytime soon. But I do expect some smaller things that are within his capacity.
Yeah, and I think I've heard a lot of people who were complaining or they were asking for, they had the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, and I've heard a lot of people criticize because Joe Biden signed that bill, and they were criticizing that there wasn't a bill specifically for Black people. But what I would say is that Black people are the number one targeted race of people for hate crimes. When you look on the FBI's website or any statistics, Black people are number one. As a matter of fact, I believe that last year, 3 out of 3,915 victims were Black that were targeted for hate crimes last year. So all of the hate crime bills were only created because this country was built on racism. So you have what, in 1968, Congress initially passed, the hate crime bill, which was signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. You have the 1968 statute. The Congress in 96 signed the Church Arson Prevention Act in 2009. If you remember, President Obama signed the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crime Act. So do I think that there will be more that's like a different bill? Perhaps. But I think the biggest issue that we need to really focus on is gun violence. Not only was this horrible act of racism and bigotry that occurred, we had 8 mass shootings in the past couple of days, from like the 11th of May up until today. There were 8. So I think that we do need to look in this country. I think there's a bigger issue, is why was he able to get a gun, an AR-15, and he had a magazine that you can't even buy in New York State? Like, how was he able to do that? And why was the Red Flag Act not triggered in this particular case? So I think those are the things that we really need to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the gun conversation takes away, and I think that we do need to have enough discussions around the gun conversation. But I also know that, the National Rifle Association, the gun lobby in general, very, very powerful lobby. You're only going to get but so many actual political leaders that are going to stand up to the gun lobby in this country. Big guns is putting in millions upon millions of dollars in a lot of these political leaders' coffers, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yes, there's going to be, more background checks, and then there's going to be, making sure they're flagging, potential ghost guns and trying to find ghost guns. And I mean, it's all of those little things, but it doesn't take away from, I think the gun conversation doesn't take away from the fact that you have a level of racism in this country, a level of view in this country that has become so mainstream now. Like, it once was on the fringes. Once, when we talked about white supremacy, it was like, a hush hush type of situation. Now it's out in the open, which it should be. But when you have people, and I'm gonna always just beat this horse, when you have individuals like a Tucker Carlson, when you have President Donald Trump, when you have people who have major platforms, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when you have people who have access to millions of people who are in influential and powerful positions to shape the context of the conversation, the gun thing is one thing. You gotta deal with the snake. You gotta like chop off the head of the snake right there. That level of communication. We saw just a couple, we talked about it. Elon Musk allowing President Trump said he will allow President Trump back onto Twitter. I mean, you're giving these guys and these ideas a microphone. Even though people now know we can say, oh, that doesn't make sense. Replacement theory doesn't make sense. But they have a microphone. Because for those of us who may not be in tune and understand the ideology of white supremacy and white nationalists, they might be like, oh, really? Oh, man. And even some of us, Lise, even some Black folks going to be like, yeah, the Hispanics, the Latinos, they taking our jobs. Yeah, I'm with the replacement.
which is crazy to me because the replacement theory literally is that the Democratic Party and Jewish people are trying to replace white people with minorities or people of color so that they can have more voters. That's literally where the premise comes from, which is absolutely crazy. And then it also kind of weighs into the whole abortion rights because they're afraid of low birth weight and low birth rates for white people, which is making them believe that they will be replaced completely, which makes you start to raise your eyebrows when you look at the Conservative Party and how much they're pushing the abortion rights. It starts to make you go, you at least raise an eyebrow. But what I will say is that I do think that, yes, they have a platform, people like Tucker Carlson, who actually mentioned this on his show directly. He mentioned this conspiracy theory on his show, and he has mentioned it a couple of times. So I think maybe Laura Ingraham may have alluded to it. So I think that there are people that allude to stuff like this, but I don't think that we can take away from the fact that it's already here. I think that they give them this notion that there are more people like me. There are more people that think like me. But in order for you to really resonate with someone, they have to feel that. So there's something within them that relates to that. Because if you heard them say that, you would say, that's insane. But if someone that actually is already struggling financially and they're feeling like they should be on top because they're a white male in the United States of America, they're going to get really angry if they start to see other races, minority groups, and women start to exceed when they feel like they should sit there. So I think that there's a bigger question to be, answered here. And it's bigger than just that because we can't cure racism, unfortunately. So the only thing I believe that we can do is go after making sure that these people don't have access to guns. They don't have access to congregate together and to make these types of plans and plots and rules. And we can't miss this because he put this out on social media.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I think there needs to be a multifaceted approach to dealing with this larger issue, from guns to access to guns to changing culture. But I agree with the guns, but I think the culture has created a Peyton Gendron. The culture has created a Kyle Rittenhouse. The culture has created a Dylan Roof. Mike V, who checked in from the chat, he said, my Dylan Roof was 21, Kyle Rittenhouse 17, Peyton Gendron 18. These are young white boys. The culture is creating domestic terrorists from the womb, and that's the sad part. That's the really concerning and disturbing part. I want to play a clip of President Biden and what he's had to say. Just a little quick excerpt of the president as he speaks out against racism at this and the Buffalo mass shooting. Check this out.
Seen the mass shootings in Charleston, South Carolina, El Paso, Texas, and Pittsburgh, last year in Atlanta, this week in Dallas, Texas, and now in Buffalo, New York. White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through it really is. Running through our body politic. And it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes. No more. I mean, no more. We need to say as clearly and forcefully as we can that the ideology of white supremacy has no place in America.
There we go. The ideology of white supremacy has no place in America, the president said. Woo!
I agree.
That's a heavy assertion.
I agree.
Well, let me just say this. Let's say this. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it a buck, right, Lise? White supremacy ideology is America.
Yes.
If this country really wants to deal with, and I'm saying sincerely want to deal with white supremacy ideology, you got to even face the fact that it's been a part of America since this country's inception and origin. We got people in this country, governors, who can't even accept that. They don't even want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the president, I mean, it sounds good from the president. You're like, yes, here's an older white man that gets it, quote unquote, right? But there are, I mean, significant number of places in this country, significant number of states where people don't get it because they're afraid to even confront it, to see it for what it really is. Dr. Wimbush, we had him on the show yesterday. He said, this racism is so, I mean, this is America. This is not like, this is not ourselves, or, you know, we are better than this. Like, this is us. Yeah. No, we're not. Unfortunately, we're not better than this. This is us.
Right. Which is crazy because America always wants to be something that it's not.
Something that is not.
Which it literally is written into the Constitution. Like, you can go now and look at it. Of course, it was amended, but it's there. Like, we were founded upon racism. And look, the FBI, we know that this is something that is going on in our country. And we do need for white people and Black people alike to come out and say that this is not okay. We need people to condemn it, because if we don't, you create more people that think that this is okay. Like, the FBI was following in 2020, 2,003 perpetrators of anti-Black or African-American hate crimes. 2 years ago. So I can imagine what that is now. So this is something that very much is happening, and you are creating these silos of people. So we do need for people to come out and say that. So it would be nice to see a Mitch McConnell come out and say that, or a Lindsey Graham, or a Donald Trump, because if you get those people to say that, which I don't think we will.
Come on, you wishing upon a star, Lisa. You wishing upon a star.
Those people,
jokers can't even admit that white people ran up on the Capitol. We
know.
All saw it.
I know, but we do need them to condemn that, so that there is some at least pause in doing stuff like this. And we do need to hold these people accountable. And that's why I'm saying, and go after the things that we can definitely are tangible, that we can touch, like laws and rules, and not allowing stuff like this to slide through Facebook. Again, we're talking about social media and holding social media accountable. And how do you do that without infringing upon people's rights? So it's all less like with the red flag rule that in New York that they were talking about, where it will stop someone who they deem as potentially mentally unstable or extreme, they're an extreme risk from actually being able to purchase a gun. So they passed this in 2019, I believe. And for whatever reason, because last year he actually made a threat at his school that he was going to commit murder-suicide. He said it at his school, and they started investigating him. And this was very, very hard to prove, because they said it was too general. Like, he wasn't specific. So we do need to make sure that we're creating rules and laws that actually work, and not just putting out symbolism. Because even like with people saying that we need a bill like the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, it was widely symbolic, because if you look at it, it's very hard to prove a hate crime. So even with that bill, it was hard to prosecute people under that bill. And that's the same thing that happens with a lot of the other hate crimes. You have to have like the perfect alignment of all of these things in order for it to actually qualify as a hate crime.
I agree. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back here, Lise, let's talk about, and I know some of our watchers like Lana, I got you. Lana's been blowing up the chat. Like, where's the CBC? Where's the Black political leadership? Well, let me tell you, they put out a statement yesterday coming from the Congressional Black Caucus. I want to share with that. And then as we have this conversation, we're going to still continue the discussion. But as we have this conversation, let's talk about the psychological impact of that viral video. When violent videos go viral, let's talk a little bit about that. Because when it was originally posted of this Buffalo mass shooting, you know how many people actually saw the video, folks? I'm going to break down a number, and then I'm going to show you how many people saw the video after the shooting. So there's still a lot to talk about. We're going to get your comments and as well. So still stay with us. A lot to stay tuned in for the second 30 of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, we've been talking about the latest visit from President Biden as he headed to Buffalo today to give an impassioned speech about racism and white supremacy in light of the Buffalo mass shooting by 18-year-old man, Peyton Gendron. The president went all out to condemn white supremacy, calling white supremacy a poison. But many people are still wondering, will his strong words be backed up with strong policies and other strong qualifiers to make sure that racism is dealt with in this country as much as it can be dealt with in this country? We've been talking to Culture Crew member Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. Lise, I wanted to bring this part of the conversation up because people have been asking, well, where has Black political leadership been on this situation? And then we can talk about the fact that you have this violent video that only a small number of people saw when it actually was posted, and then a whole lot of other people saw after the fact. But I want to talk about what the Congressional Black Caucus said about this situation, which I'm happy that they did put out a statement via the chair, Representative Joyce Beatty, the Democrat out of Ohio. Check out what she said. She said that, quote, "I am horrified to see another devastating act of hateful gun violence in America. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the 13 innocent people who lost their lives due to this tragic hate crime. This story is not new. We've seen this play out repeatedly, but we are very clear thoughts and prayers are not enough." She went on to say, Lise, that the House has passed has tried to pass a number of acts. They passed the Bipartisan Background Checks Act and the Enhanced Background Checks Act, which would do further and thorough background checks on firearm sales and transfer. However, Senate Republicans have blocked the request to proceed to legislation. But she wants to see more policy, which I'm very, very happy that she's doing. But the fact remains, you do have this blockage in the Senate side that's going to stop the progress. So I'm not sure if we need to, continue to push the CBC. I'm not sure what we do with the situation, especially since Congress is evenly divided.
Yeah. It's going to be very, very hard with Congress. Of course, you have Kamala Harris as vice president who can break ties, but it would be very, very hard to pass sweeping gun legislation, especially now with the economy and inflation. The Republicans are going to try to push back because right now they're trying to sweep as many seats as possible. So stopping Joe Biden and his administration and the Democrats from passing anything is pretty much their go-to. So I don't know if we're passing sweeping gun legislation, if that will pass. But I think after this happened, Republicans can't sit on their hands because at the end of the day, they do need to bring along other groups of people. And they don't want to look like the bad guys. They want to be able to point the finger back at Joe Biden and say, hey, look at what's going on with crime, even though this has nothing to do with that. Look what's going on with crime. This happened under Joe Biden. So I think that we do need something passed. Whether or not the Republicans actually they may do, again, one of those symbolic bills, more so than an actual background check bill. America and their guns that's one of the reasons why the Red Flag Act or law bill in New York didn't work properly, because of all the pushback against it by Republicans.
Right. So are you what should we expect is from your vantage point, Lise, looking at the fact that the Congressional Black Caucus is saying, okay, they got their words out there, they got their statement out there. What should we expect from the CBC?
I think you're going to see exactly what they've been trying to do for many since George Floyd and Freddie Gray. They have been trying to push for better laws for Black people. And I think that they will continue to do that. I think you are going to see them push for stronger and more defined hate crimes, more inclusive, like the one in 2009 under Obama. So I think that we will see more of that. And that's what I think we're going to see them push for: restrictions on, of course, the magazines. We're going to see them push for restrictions or background checks for people who are mentally ill, which is something that Trump he rolled that back under him. So I think that they're going to push a little bit harder for those types of things in order to protect Black people at this point. Somebody's got to do something, because we can't have this every couple of years where you have, again, like I said, the racist zealots come out of the woodwork and decide when they're upset with their life, they want to kill Black people. We can't have that.
Oh, absolutely not. Folks, I want y'all to post your comments in our chats, Facebook, YouTube. But Doreen has checked in, and Doreen Turner, she said, expecting change from something that cannot change. Another ridiculous thought.
So is
Doreen, you sound so sunny and happy.
Yeah. You do nothing is the solution.
Doreen, it's okay. Look. I am an optimist. I know some people like, I'm a realist. I'm gonna keep it real.
I am a realist.
I know, Lisa. I know. But I am an optimist, right? Like, we're not asking them to, we're not asking President Biden's Congressional Black Caucus, we're not asking them to eradicate racism. We're not asking them, hey, get rid of racism within the next 2 years so we can go back and vote well. No, we're not asking that. I'm saying, let's get some stuff going. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Okay, even if it's not the policy side, like, the president has access to billions of dollars. You can do some other things. You don't have to just say, okay, let's leave it up to Congress. There can be a convening of governors from around the country where you're having these special and much needed conversations about hate groups in their respective states. There can be stuff that can be done, and I'm just throwing it out there. But there can be a lot of creative things that can be done. I think the problem is we're not thinking creatively to an old age problem. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting some new ideas. I'm expecting some innovative ideas. I'm expecting some ideas that include the constituents, the citizen. Hello, we're right here. I'm expecting something different, because policy does not legislate behavior, right? Thinking and attitudes create the policy, but the policy doesn't legislate behavior. We're seeing that. So I'm expecting something different. I'm expecting a more concerted effort from the White House to get these states in order and say, okay, if you are harboring white supremacists, and I'm gonna just say that the same language that we use when we talk about foreign and international terrorists, like, you know, if you're harboring these terrorists, if you're harboring white supremacists in your states, then you're gonna have a real problem with funding. I mean, it could be something that, and I know people will be like, oh my gosh, yes. You want to cut off this country at the knees? Start with the funding.
And I think that kind of going back to the realism of, again, yes, you're not going to get rid of racism. It's just how it is. As long as you have people, you're going to have bias, you're going to have problems. It just is what it is. That's human nature. But I think when it comes to passing something and being realistic, you've got to grab onto something that isn't necessarily extremely divisive and include everything in it. So I think that when we are looking for ways to combat hate crimes, we have to figure out how are they doing that now and actually look at that. If it means that they're going on those very fringe sites and they are, you know, coming together and they are organizing, you start there. You know, 53% of all of the hate crimes were by white nationalists. So maybe let's start there. Where are they hanging out? Where are they talking? And now I know that this can get a little bit wonky because we're starting to talk about individual rights, but we do need something in place where if this person actually had this stuff out there for years, he's been talking about this and no one said anything. I do agree with you, Farajii, that maybe not the governors to harbor a white nationalist or a white supremacist, but if you are a parent of an 18-year-old boy that is really starting to say some concerning things, at some point you've got to say, this doesn't seem so good. We do need to make sure that neighbors and people that, and teachers and people that are in contact with these people are saying something, because sometimes I think that they allow them to just, oh, that's just Bob. We can't just say that's just Bob. If someone seems not stable, we've got to hold them accountable and the people around them as well. I think there is where we start.
What if the parents are the reason for the child to be so racist? Because here's the situation. We know in all the situations, Dylan Roof, Kyle Rittenhouse, Peyton Gendron, all of these guys, they didn't come from a place where the parents didn't espouse racist beliefs, or the parents were a part of Black Lives Matter, or the parents were, you know, working in the community to try to encourage diversity. They came from places where racism was their everyday culture.
Predominantly white neighborhoods. So they were also secluded to white people. So the only things that they saw were the things that were on Fox News, that Black people are bad, and that's what they saw. So I do agree with that. But if you start to hold them accountable too, I think you'll see less people, because you can have, and this is going to sound crazy, follow me, don't come and get me. You can have people that have bias against a certain group of people without committing a murder, without being a terrorist. That can be. I think if you start holding the parents accountable too, I think you will have less parents that just allow their children to do and plan. That's like even when we're seeing the mass shootings in schools and stuff, we start to see that the parents kind of knew something was a little off, but they didn't do anything. So those are the types of things that I'm talking about. And
you mean when you say holding them accountable, you mean if, for example, Peyton's parents should be arrested and charged just like Peyton should be?
I think something, if they knew something, like if he was talking to them and the FBI can prove that they seen this manifesto, they knew that this is what he was talking about, and they didn't do anything. At the very least, because he was 17 when he did the first thing, at least child abuse, something that they should be able to be, or neglect, or something should be done. And I think that you will see more people say, hey, my kid needs some, because now the parents are coming out saying, oh, he's not mentally stable. It was COVID. It was this. So if you see that your child is incredibly secluded from COVID and he is extremely paranoid, should you not seek some type of treatment? So those are the types of things that I think should be done. What is it a little bit out there? Yes, but we do need something in order to start making sure that people are saying something when they see something.
Mike V checked in. Mike, always good to talk to you. The Patriot Act should have allowed the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to go after Peyton once he threatened to shoot up the school, and the ATF should have grabbed the rifle once it was purchased by the father.
Yeah, it was not. So when that happened, he didn't, I don't think there was a specific time, date. It wasn't specific enough for them to be able to go after.
But the fact that he, and I'm with Mike on this, the fact that he talked about threatening the school, that happened last year. A couple of days ago, he had a confrontation with the security guard at Tops Market in Buffalo. You know, I mean, there were signs that this kid, this grown-ass man, rather, was off.
Yeah,
there were signs. I'm saying, again, this is a systemic issue, right? This is a systemic issue. K Thriller said, when Asians got gunned down in ATL, Biden and black politicians made it an AAPI issue that they need to be protected. Black folks get gunned down, none of them make it a black American issue.
Okay, so I'm not going to go tit for tat for everything, but again, I think that we need to be very, very careful when we're doing that. Because again, black people are the #1 targeted people of hate crimes. The only reason why we have a hate crime bill at all is because people were killing us. So most of the bills, and they were created, it has not been successful, but it was created to protect us. So I don't know if that's 100% true. You do need to go back and look. I think that there should be more things put on the books. But like I said, we had a bill just as recently as 2009 that expanded what a hate crime was. So that's inclusive. Do you want to just put black people's name on it, which again would be symbolic? Because even this COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act that was created for out of the Asian targeted hate crimes was symbolic. It didn't do anything. So is that really what we want, or do we want actual change?
I want actual change. And as we're talking about this, let's think about the fact that we might find ourselves to be complicit in creating the culture where this is so prevalent. Now, here's why I'm saying it, folks. The fact is that when there's a video, I've only seen pieces, and I've had my producers tell me, I've had staff here, my man Alex, others have said to me, look, this video was very long. It's like a first person, and my engineer Keenan told me it's like a first person perspective, something that you would normally see on a video game. This video, very graphic, very, very disturbing, but Peyton created this video as a live stream. I want to break down the numbers for you right here, folks. Take a look at this. This came out of the, let me see, this came out of the Washington Post, where they show this. Keenan, let's post that quote on here from the Washington Post. It said that one copy of this video, one copy, made its way onto a little-known video site, Streamable, where thanks to links posted on a much larger site, it was viewed more than 3 million times before it was removed. One link to that copy on Facebook received more than 500 comments and 46,000 shares. Facebook did not remove it for more than 10 hours, according to the Washington Post. When he first posted that video, a lot of people weren't looking. At least they said that only 22 people tuned into that video. Now, millions have seen this video, albeit after the fact, but millions have been seeing this video. And I can't for the life of me understand why we would want to share this level of violence, especially Black people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the hell are we sharing? I don't want to see. I saw a piece of it, and when I saw it, it was probably like maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes before it was taken down from Twitter. It was a Twitter. Somebody had posted it on a Twitter on Twitter, and then it was taken down. But it was disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't take any more of these videos, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. Me and Keenan, we talked a little bit about it. Do you want to show the video? I said, no. Brother, I said, Keenan, no, sir, brother. We can't show this video because I don't want to be the source of triggering anybody's emotional trauma.
Yeah.
So you will never see that video being played on the culture here on Black Star. Never see it.
Yeah.
If you want to look for it, then that's your morbid curiosity. But we can't be complicit in creating a culture. And this is why I say complicit, because if you're sharing these types of images, these type of videos, and people say, well, we have to see it. No, you don't.
Agreed.
No, you don't. Where do you have to see somebody getting killed? How does that become psychologically comfortable?
Yeah.
Like, that's somebody's loved one. I saw one person getting shot in the video. I said, I can't see this. I can't watch this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's we're all desensitized to death. And I think more so death to Black death, because not only are we seeing, because this gets publicized, right? It's more salacious in the news. So people want to share stuff like this more, but we Black people get killed by us too. So I think and those videos get shared. I think that there's a level of, we're desensitized, we're numb to it. And so it doesn't seem real to us. It's detached from us. We don't think about it in the sense that this is somebody's last breath. And I couldn't personally watch it. And I think that we do need to start people understanding that this is somebody's loved one. These were people. This is not just a news headline. This is not just enough. And some of it, I think, honestly, even with Black people, is to get views. People want to go viral so bad that they will just share anything at all.
And look, let me tell you something. I mean, we kind of make jokes about the cultural impact of, watching those World Star videos, people in fights, this stuff is getting just so out of hand, Lise, that let me just share with you what a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Research Lab said about how information spreads online. Take a look at what Mr. Emerson Brooking said. Take a look at this quote. Keenan, let's post this one. Look at the first thing this man said. Terrorism is theater. The purpose of terrorism is always to reach the greatest number of people possible with the most horrific or spectacular attack that you can perform. Live streaming enables terrorists to have a much greater impact. It essentially rewards and incentivizes attacks, which are less sophisticated and may kill much fewer people, but will still strike fear and horror in millions. This is from a man who studies how information is spread online.
Yeah. Agreed. And unfortunately, we did kind of, especially the people that shared it, that's what they did. And I don't even know if they realized that was what's happening. And when you share their names and you share, what they've done, sometimes even some of those people, they like that. They want to be known for doing this. And we like he said, we're rewarding them for this very gruesome, terrible, hateful behavior.
And that's the point. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like this stuff is getting out of hand. We want to change the culture. We want to talk about protecting Black lives. Protecting Black lives should not just be in words. It should not just be in deed and action. I mean, protecting Black lives means in person and digitally, right? I mean, certainly this is not the same, but one of the things that Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa Bryant, has been fighting with the LA County Sheriff's Department is about making the footage of her husband, her daughter, and the other victims of that horrific helicopter crash, making it public. And then TMZ getting it and it becomes this thing, right? And it's getting to a point now where psychologically, emotionally, we love, and I got to go back to what one of our watchers said, B Dizzle, I see you. It's Black death porn, period. That's what B Dizzle said. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I can't get into it. I never forget seeing the video of Rodney King for the first time. And this was when it actually happened, right? I was scarred.
Mm-hmm.
For weeks, I was scarred as a little boy. I was scarred.
Yeah, and I think that not only just the white on black, but we are seeing violent videos, like when you talk about World Star, of black bodies and black people every single day. Like it's something that you're seeing all the time. Like even if you go into some of the neighborhoods where gun violence is very, very high, there's a desensitization of death. I watched a video in Atlanta of a older black man get out of his car. He got shot in the back of his head and he got robbed 3 times by his own community. No one batted an eye.
Damn.
This is something that we can't keep having this happen, where people are just seeing black people die is just something that we see and we're just okay with it. We can't just get outraged sometimes. We got to be outraged all the time so that they know that you don't mess with them.
Let me tell you something. With them. Here's the conversation that I think that we need to have from an activist advocate point of view, and just from a constituent citizen's point of view. We should be having discussions with social media companies, right? Okay, let's stop thinking about the politics, the policy space for right now, right? Not DC. Let's go to Silicon Valley. Having a conversation with them to say, well, why are you continuing to profit off of Black death? Why are you continuing to allow certain videos to stay on your site for hours before they're finally taken down? If you're monitoring this stuff, you should know that these videos are popping up and you should instantly remove it. Or you should not allow it to be posted in the first place. Like if they don't meet a certain criteria, right? Like that's the type of conversation that we as constituents can have, citizens can have. See, we don't see, let's not lose sight of this fact, folks. Technology is an outgrowth of us. We're not an outgrowth of technology. Like we don't get, at this point, at least our relationship with technology is that it's controlling us instead of us controlling it. So digitally, we have to advocate for the digital preservation of Black life. So that way, when we have these conversations, we're not triggering people. We're not continuing to draw people in. Like, you know, I remember hearing Miss Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin. And she said this maybe like a couple of years ago. She said, I never really had a chance to grieve and mourn my son. Because now look, there was no video of Trayvon Martin's death.
Right.
But she said, because Trayvon was always, his name was always invoked.
Right.
Can you imagine the family of George Floyd, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland? I mean, the list goes on and on. Philando Castile, all of these people who were killed on camera. And now we got to add these 10 Black people, Ruth Whitfield and others who were killed on camera. And us as a community, as a people, we should not be so ready to show Black people murder. Hell, anybody's murder.
Right.
On camera.
Yeah. I think that you're right. I think it does play into with technology. Technology is addictive, and they knew that when they created it. And so we have to find a way to hold them accountable, which has been very, very tricky. Like I said, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is always in Capitol Hill. They're always trying to find ways to make sure that social media is held accountable, but it is very, very hard to do. So I agree with you that there should be something that triggers and flags. They say that they have it in place. You know, I've seen posts getting taken down for people saying things that they just didn't like it's not actual death, and it got pulled down almost immediately. So we do need to find out, is there a better algorithm, or are you just trying to get views, clicks, and likes to sell ads? We have to find a way to make sure that we are holding them accountable as well. Now, as far as stopping it before it starts, I don't know if you can stop it before it starts, but at least pull it down so that people can't see it. And because once it's out there, people are going to video screen it, they're going to video record it, and then they're going to reshare it. And once it's out there, it's almost impossible to reel back in.
Well, you're not going to be able to reel it back in. But if we're going to have a conversation about the video, or if we're sharing the video, we need to have some constructive conversation about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They put a warning sign. Don't be like, yo, check this out.
Yeah.
Why am I checking this out? What do I get? What do I gain from watching my people getting shot down like nothing?
Yeah.
I don't gain nothing from that. And let's be honest, what do we gain? Just to know, oh yeah, it did really happen. Well, we already know it happened.
I guess it invokes anger. So some people want people to be angry. So
I don't need, but see, Lisa, and I get that. And I've heard that before, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's angry to do what?
I agree with you, but I'm just saying, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
Because you damn sure ain't going into a white neighborhood and start shooting up the place, beating up on nobody. You ain't doing that.
Right.
I want to see it. I need to see it. No. Don't try to cloak, with something like some moral reason. I need to see the evilness.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Bro, you got a problem, right? We all have problems because it's human nature to see human destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say this before we take our next pause. Infamous Kiki, great quote from Infamous Kiki, and I'm gonna appreciate all of your comments coming in. Violence sells, anger sells, hate sells, and bring views.
Yeah.
Facts. You post something positive and no one cares. How you going to change that? Race don't matter. It's not technology, it's us. Look, the algorithm would not put negative, offensive, disturbing content at the top if we didn't look at it.
Correct. It's money.
If we don't look at it, then it becomes less of a priority. It's not at the top of the timeline, the feed. It's not at the top of the algorithm. It's not a priority for the algorithm. But because we look at it, because it brings views, and all we're going to do is look at it and be like, damn, that shit messed up.
Yeah.
As if we don't read the newspaper and the words can't describe the horror.
Well, we don't really read the newspaper, though.
All right. I'm just saying, Lise, we don't need to see it. And trust and believe, folks. I mean, this is an ongoing conversation. You can continue to post your thoughts, but you're never going to see the video. You're never going to see that type of content on this show. I'm going to just let y'all know. You're not going to see that type of content on this show. Ever. Ever. We're not here to get you riled up for nothing. So if you want to seek it, then you got to deal with whatever that's in your head and in your heart to deal with that. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. Let's talk about the 1 million COVID death that we have experienced, the somber milestone that we are experiencing here in the United States. What does it mean? And most importantly, are we truly at the end of this pandemic? We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, baby formula shortage is still happening. I can't wait to talk to our culture crew member, Lisa, about, what she thinks is going to be the next step. Is there going to be any end in sight for that? And then later, of course, Trends Post and Doing the Most. So stay with us. A whole lot to get to in the second hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome back to the second hour of The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I wanted to have a conversation around what we have been seeing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we know that this has been, and I want to bring back culture crew member Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. Lise, I think this is year 3. No, this is year 2.5. We're in 2.5 years. Since this pandemic started. And now we're at this somber milestone of 1 million deaths at the hands of COVID in America. Now, does that mean that we're the country that has the highest numbers of deaths? No, but, well, yes, we are that one of those countries. I'm sorry. We are one of those countries. And Japan is looking, and many other countries are warning against having this high level of death in their countries. But we're at this place right now, Lise, where as much as we want to believe this pandemic is over, this pandemic is still claiming the lives of many people. I want to share something that we came across in regards to where we are with public health experts and their challenge with dealing with COVID-19. This was reported by the BBC News. Take a look at this, folks. It said that public health experts, and Keenan, we could throw this on the screen. It said that public health experts give several reasons for the high U.S. death toll, including high rates of obesity and hypertension, overworked hospital systems, some vaccine hesitancy, and a larger, older population. Each U.S. state, may have a slightly different way to define a COVID death, and such deaths are often not solely because of the virus. This right here, I think, Lise, speaks to how this pandemic has been handled. Now, let me just say this. There has been a lot of conversation about how COVID has been, quote unquote, mishandled. I don't know how you're supposed to handle a pandemic, right? So I don't know if we can really say it's been mishandled because we have never experienced this before. So
not in our lifetime.
Not in our lifetime, right? And I'm talking about the way the government is set up today, modern United States government. We have never dealt with this before. So I'm not going to use the terminology that's been mishandled. But I do know, and Keenan, throw that quote back up on the screen because I think this is an interesting point. And this is probably why we're seeing so many deaths. When it says in the same quote from the BBC, take a look at this line. Each U.S. state may have a slightly different way to define a COVID death, and such deaths are often not solely because of the virus. There have been so many, Lise, there have been so many conflicting guidance on how to deal with COVID. Like when the pandemic first started, we all were quote unquote on the same page.
Yeah.
Then about a year in, it just went all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
From the White House to your local state house to your city hall, everybody was trying to figure it out. You know, from hospitals to the churches, from the streets to the community organization. Everybody started to figure out. Like the CDC would say one thing and then switch to something else.
Right.
People were on the K90, the N95 mask, and then it's like, no, cloth is good. I mean, there were just so many conflicting things. And again, I think people were trying to figure out, like, this is not the proper way to handle it. I'm not going to say it's not the proper way, but at least be on the same damn page. Some people say Fauci was right. Some people say he was wrong.
But I think that's part of the problem of why it seems like it has taken so long and why the, United States being the country that we are, and we're number one in a lot of things in the world. We're like the beacon of hope everywhere. And yet we have this very grave milestone. And I think it's because I would disagree with you to say that from day one, there were discrepancies about whether or not it was real. We had a president at that time that was saying that it's not real, don't worry about it. And then, a couple weeks later, then it was real. Then, then it wasn't that, it's not that bad. And it became very, very partisan. And now we are in a place where it's either this or that. You're left, you're right, you're blue, you're red. It's nothing is factual. It is just how I feel. And I think that's why we are where we are today. Whether or not, Trump he waited too long, or you think, maybe Joe Biden should have rolled back some of the provisions sooner, is all up to opinions. But I think had we been more united as a country, we would have gotten over this, or at least past the hump a lot sooner. But the benefit of COVID, and I hate to say it like this, was that it exposed a lot of things that we ignored. Like our healthcare system is absolutely broken. We need to do something about paying them more. We're going to have problems in the future with getting doctors and nurses because we have a shortage now. And then about how partisan we are, racism, and how there are not a lot of food places in certain communities where there are absolute food deserts, which lead to hypertension and diabetes, and why Black people were dying at a higher rate. All of those things matter, and why people don't trust the government. It exposed everything. So I think in that sense, we got a chance to look at America from a different lens. We took off the rose-colored glasses and we saw that, hey, we have problems.
I would agree. I think that, and this is why good leadership is so important. So when crises like this that are outside of the bounds and the capacity of our local leaders, even our national leaders, that we can rely on those leaders making the best decisions and having the best judgments, right? So I would agree with that. But here's the thing, like, we just didn't know. Now, am I going to, like, this thing started when Trump was in office.
Right.
Here's where he mishandled. He didn't mishandle the fact of, like, the COVID was there. He mishandled telling people the truth.
Facts.
Right?
Well,
so
he lied.
He should have. But see, that's the problem. Like it is so hard to remember. Like, at least, I mean, when you think back to when COVID first started in March of 2020, and probably before that, we showed that actually in December of 2019, it was signs that this thing was going to hit us hard.
Yeah.
But again, you dealt with a man that did not have the heart, and still does not have the heart, mind, and spirit to serve the best interests of the public. So it's hard for me to personally like to remember that first year, or from March to January, because I was like, you know what? Like once the election came in, that man wasn't even talking about COVID no more. You know what I'm saying? So for those few months, he was on it to some degree, but then he fell off. But the real hitter came once the election came in, and we started to see these things. Like, we weren't getting past this. It was a reminder that we weren't getting past it. And look, let's keep it real. Even though Trump was in office, the American government I never forget hearing one of the chief of staff say that at some point they had to operate like there was no president.
Which is scary.
Which is scary because he was making so many, like he wasn't putting enough emphasis on his public health crisis. He was putting emphasis on other stuff for his personal gain. And so that's the point of the government, which is to say, okay, when the president has kind of like on some emperor new clothes shit, then we're going to have to move and deal with the American people, right? So, I mean, there are checks and balances in that. But I just think that when we look at it, regardless of where people fall on the spectrum of vaccines or whether they believe COVID is real, the fact remains, people have really died from this.
Yeah.
People have really died from this. And it's so unfortunate because now you get COVID. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, but it's not quite as much of a big deal as it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Agreed. I agree. And I think that it does have a lot to do with doctors have gotten better at treating it. They've gotten better at spotting it. So shout out to all the healthcare workers. It was just National Nurses Week like 2 weeks ago. So shout out to all the nurses out there. But I think that it also, whether or not you want to get a vaccine or not, I think you're right in some retrospect, looking at it, that there was a lot of conflict in between what doctors knew. So the information that they were giving us, it caused a little bit of confusion between people, because it's like, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear a mask sometimes, but when you eat, it's okay. Like a lot of it didn't make a lot of sense. So it did cause people to be a little bit more hesitant, especially when they started coming out with the vaccine. So I think that caused a lot of people to be a little bit more like, I don't really know. It came out really fast. And that scared people. But I think that because more people started to get the vaccine, I think it did start to curve a lot of those, first strains of COVID that we had that was a lot more deadly. Now, are people still dying? Unfortunately, yes. But I think that we're seeing less and less of that. I do think that COVID is probably going to be here. I think that this is something that we may have to deal with. I think we may be over the hump of those big numbers of deaths. But I think that this is something that we are going to have to learn to live with, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah. And the fact is, whether you got the vaccine or not, the vaccination situation, I know some people say, well, the vaccine, sports, I see you. You said, what are you talking about? The vaccine is the reason why we are seeing a lower number. It may be. Because there are still some doctors out there that have made the point that yes, fully vaccinated people are getting sick. Now, yes, you might say, well, it curbs severe COVID risk. It curbs COVID fatality. But here's the thing. There were so many conflicting messages about the vaccine that it's hard to figure out which message you should hold on to and which message you should throw away.
I agree with that. As a person,
because when the vaccine first came out, it was like the vaccine is going to cure COVID.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Then the language changed to the vaccine is going to alleviate some of the key symptoms. Then it's like, oh, the vaccine is going to, make sure y'all take the vaccine because it looks like we're going to have to live with it. So you're going to have to keep yourself. A lot of different messages about one thing. And today it was just announced that Pfizer got another emergency authorization for another vaccine. COVID vaccine is not just in the jab. You can get it in pill form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when you look at the behind the scenes situation, and this is something I talked about on Rolling, as people getting sicker, somebody else is getting richer.
Always.
Now we can act as if that's okay. And it's fine. That's a part of the American system. That's capitalism. That's what it is. But at the end of the day, folks, if this is a public health crisis, this should not be a game for the pharmaceutical industry. If this is a public health crisis, elected officials should not be fattening their pockets because of their stock investments in pharmaceutical companies. You got it's just too many things. And then if this is a public health crisis, then then the vaccine should work.
I think the vaccine does work though. So the vaccine works like most vaccines work, because we know how vaccines work. This is how all vaccines work. So I think that we can't put that narrative out there either, that it doesn't work, because this is how all the vaccines work. Even in the Spanish flu of 1918, which happened, which was a pandemic at the time, we're seeing that. I think the closest thing to this, if we're really going to look at a vaccine, would probably be polio. And what happened with the polio vaccination, they did have some issues with the Qatar incident where they had some contamination and it gave some people polio. It did. It made some children very, very sick. But ultimately, I think at that time, of course, racism is always there. But at that time, I think America did what they needed to do to make sure that they eradicated it. And to this day, because there wasn't a lot of pushback between the Democrats and the Republicans about this is the Democratic thing, this is a Republican thing. They just did what was best for the country. And now, widely in the US, we're saying that we've eradicated polio here, not in the world, but here. So that's how vaccines work. I think that it does, but I think that we do need to look at why so many people were getting sick. I think that's kind of where you're going to with this, because not only are the pharmaceuticals making money off of COVID, but they're making money in general because people just aren't well. If we were more physically well, in, less obesity and more access to healthcare, I honestly don't think COVID would have been quite as bad for a developed country like the United States. But again, it showcased that they need to keep us sick in order to make money.
And that's the point, Lise. Look, for me, look, let me tell y'all something, folks. Let me just say this. I am not happy that 1 million people have died because of COVID. That is inhumane. That is beneath me. I'm saddened by that. But I feel like the American people, we are always being lied to. And I'm not talking about the vaccine. I'm just saying in general, we don't get the full story about anything, right? Stuff happens in this country and we get bits and pieces. It's insulting all the time, Lisa. And you might share my pain and same sentiment, but it's absolutely insulting that when we have a national tragedy, we don't get told the full story, as if we can't handle it. All the crap that we've been through in this country, and we're still being lied to.
Right.
Each and every day by some sort of industry leader, political leadership. I mean, everything is just a damn lie. And it's like, tell the American people, you want to help the American people, tell us the truth. That's the way that you're going to alleviate some of the pain and the corruption. Tell us the truth, man.
Yeah.
And so I'm tired of like I said, if you are not well read, if you don't keep up with the news and you're hearing this, you might be hearing about all of this stuff. If you don't understand how the news cycle works, if you don't understand the fear campaign that this country often employs when dealing with national tragedies.
With everything, not even
with everything, right? There's always this constant fear. And then on the other side of the fear campaign, there are always individuals that are reaping rich, or there are always somebody is benefiting off of our pain, off of our fear, off of our suffering. If you don't deal with the fact that we're in this space where it's very, very hard to believe anybody.
They're just telling us about aliens.
Lawyers.
Learning about aliens.
We're in this space right now in this country. And I know some people say, Farajii, it's you shouldn't be putting this out. I'm just talking about the culture that we are all experiencing right now. Let's not act as if we're like the United States of America is a saint. Like, out of all the crap that this country has put Black people, white people, Latino people, out of all the stuff that we have been undergoing, but when it comes to this one crisis, the United States is going to be the saint. There hasn't been any real conversation about the fact that, like you just pointed out, like we just said it in our quote, Elise, that your personal health will also be a determining factor on how you get through COVID-19. There hasn't been enough emphasis on that because this country just loves to, you got a problem, take a shot. You got a problem, take a pill. Instead of saying, you got a problem, what is the state of your personal health? Are you taking good care of yourself? You know why? Because there's a reason why the Food and Drug Administration are part of the same agency.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it, and I'll say this too, because I agree that your personal health impacted COVID. The fact that Americans are not healthy and that the money is always in the medicine. It's never in the cure. That's why there's very little research done about, I mean, there's research being done, but of course it's always slower to cure than to treat. But I will say that it also, with this and people's personal health, Americans are very resistant to the government coming in saying, hey, you're not healthy. That's not healthy. Food is not healthy. Look at when Michelle Obama just came out with a campaign to get moving. There was so much pushback against people like, no, I want to eat cheeseburgers every day. You can't tell me what to do. I like to drink grape soda and IV. Like, people just wanted to be able to do what they wanted to do. Americans, we are stubborn. We don't listen, and we believe that we know what's best always. And so you can't tell people who don't want to be well to get well. And so I think in some ways, America did find ways to make money off of medicine, of course, but I think it was in response to the fact that you have a group of people that aren't going to listen anyway. So how do you keep these people on the hook to get money off of it and keep them alive? You create a treatment, and that is what happened. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Right. And I think that as we wrap up this part of the conversation, Lise, if you have family members, walk them. And I mean, seek advice. You know, we often talk about it. Get 2 or 3 opinions about the situation, because we're dealing with a situation here, and it's hard to like put it all together in like 20 minutes, but we're dealing with a situation here where there's just so much misinformation. I know people say misinformation and disinformation. You have to equip folks now with a way to see through all of the misinformation, right? It can't just be in this echo chamber. We have to learn how to differentiate, to decipher, okay, what is good guidance and what's not so good guidance, right? Because we're all a part of a system that's working that's working as part of a larger agenda. And I know that might sound conspiracy theory to some people, Lise, but the reality is America is always conspiring to do some stuff.
And
I can't get past that. Personally, yeah. I can't get past that. Whether you're talking about COVID, whether you're talking about mass shootings, whether you're talking about race relations, this country is always conspiring to come out of any accountability. Yeah. We don't like accountability in this country.
Agreed. And I think that a lot of COVID, though, it did fall back again on the American public. A lot of the decisions they made, the resistance that they put out there. And I think that there was a lot of people who just that's not what my team does. And unfortunately, I think that's how we got here today.
We got here. Yeah, we got here. And look, if people trusted the government, we'd probably be a little bit further along. We'd probably seen less deaths. But we try to deal with the surface issue instead of getting to the root of the problem. People don't trust the government.
Agreed.
There are studies to show that. That's not just Black people. That's across the board.
Yeah, that's everybody. Yeah,
that's everybody. We don't trust the government.
Mm-hmm.
The pharmaceutical companies are a major lobby. They have a major, big pharma is huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
We like to be lied to with sugar on top, Lise.
Yeah, to a point.
We like to be lied to.
To a point, I think
nobody likes to be told the harsh truth about where we are in this country. So we like to be lied to. We like the fact that somebody can stand in front of us and tell us that we're okay when we know damn well we ain't feeling well. We like it. The doctor said I got a clean bill of health. Really? Smoking, drinking, not exercising, eating fatty foods. I mean, we all know this as adults. And you got a clean bill of health.
I think they didn't listen to I'm almost 1,000% sure people hear. And that's another thing.
Folks suffering from diabetes.
They hear what they want to hear. So when the
got
doctors
kidney failure,
I know so
heart
many
attacks
nurses,
and cancer, but we got a clean bill of health.
Right. I know so many nurses and medical personnel that say this to people, and they hear and take away what they want to hear. They're like, go lose weight, diet, and exercise. Do they do it when they come back? Absolutely not, because they don't want to. That's what it is. And so we do need to take more ownership on us as being healthy, just in general. Take accountability for your health.
Take care of yourself, folks. I agree with you, Lisa. Take care of yourself. And you know it. And in 2022, I don't want to hear nobody ever say, well, I don't know where to start. All of these resources we have, all of this knowledge that has been given, and this phone, our computer, all you got to do is Google it and you can start the process. I mean, it doesn't take much to say, you know what? I need to exercise. I need to drink more water. I need to take in more vitamin C. I need to build up my immune system. You know what I mean? Like, I need to put myself in a better position. Nobody should have to tell you how to, that you need to take care of yourself, especially after if we came out of this pandemic, and I'm going to say this before we go to our next conversation. If we came out of this pandemic not taking our health seriously, you come out of a 2.5-year pandemic only to go back to eating terrible, drinking, the whole nine. You ain't gained nothing from this pandemic. You just completely missed the lesson.
Yeah.
That's where we got to start. You talk about, Lise, that, people didn't. That's where we got to start.
Yeah.
You got to start with what's in us. I'm not talking on outside. It starts here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm tired of putting the onus of responsibility on outside of people and systems outside of us. No. It starts here and here. If you got to take care of yourself. You got to think about yourself and your family.
And the healthcare workers who have
and the healthcare workers.
You.
Shalinda said, Farajii Muhammad, I don't like how you're trying to say that people shouldn't trust their doctors, but trust their family members. I never said that. I just say get 2 or 3 opinions. Look, check this out. Because one, and very quickly as we wrap up, Shalinda, I've been lied to. My family, my wife has been lied to when we have gone to the doctors, gotten one diagnosis, and then it's completely wrong.
Let's not say lie. Let's say misdiagnosed. Maybe that's the word. Yeah,
I'm not going to say you're right. Let's because words matter. Yeah. So let's say they misdiagnosed. But if you know that something is wrong, I mean, you know it. You know you waking up and you feeling a certain type, and the doctor's telling you are right. I'll just write you a prescription. Here you go and send you on your way. And you know that inherently something is wrong. I'm not telling you not to trust your doctor, but just know you got to know your own body just as much as you expect your doctor to know your body. Your doctor's seeing all types of people every day, but he ain't seeing you every day. That's all I'm saying. Get to know your own body.
I agree with that. Let's
all right, please. All right. Get off your soapbox, Lise. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, Lise, you got a lot to say about this baby formula shortage. I know you do.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole situation. We'll get into it. Folks, stay with us. It's The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches! Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Wow. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
All right, folks, let's talk about baby formula, as there has been a nationwide shortage of baby formula, and people are wondering, well, how do you deal with this? The larger question that I have seen that's now being asked is breastfeeding a good alternative? I want to go back to Culture Crew member Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast, because Lise, this comes out of a bigger conversation I couldn't have. Well, obviously, I'm a man. I don't understand all of the dynamics of this, right? But I do know that I can only imagine what mothers are going through right now, trying to find baby formula. But I think that there is a cultural conversation that's worthy to be had, which is, this idea that mothers should be able to just breastfeed. There's this school of thought, and you can speak on it and learn me something here, Lise. There's a school of thought that you shouldn't need formula if you breastfeed. But I'm thinking some women do need to feed their children through formula because every woman's body is different.
Yeah.
Every woman's body is going through different changes. I've read about the story of how one woman said she had to drive around for hours to find baby formula because she couldn't breastfeed because she's going through chemotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that this is a situation where one solution fits all. What's your take on this?
I agree. And I think that we should stop shaming mothers just in general, because there's a lot of that goes around where people just shame mothers for the choices that they make. And so we've got to stop doing that. That's first. But you're right. There's a lot of medical issues that you could have or reasons why you cannot breastfeed. So we can't sit here and blame the mothers for the shortage because they didn't cause the contamination in the Abbott plant in order to stop the formula. So we do need to look at why we're shaming these mothers, and we feel like, oh, just breastfeed, when you're right. Radiation is one of the reasons why you can. If someone has an autoimmune disorder like HIV, you can't. Even things as simple as postpartum depression, there's a link between that you can't, breastfeed, or you're not able to get as much milk, glandular issues. The list goes on and on of why and how mothers can't. Now, there was a push, or more mothers, they're called milk banks, where they actually donate milk, but there's not enough of them in order to feed all of the babies. And so we do need to figure out a way where, one, this doesn't happen again, and two, let's stop shaming people. Instead of shaming them, let's try to find a solution.
So what would be the solution in a situation like this, Lise? Like, from your vantage point, like if women can't get access to this, and one of the things that I've learned, like when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, I remember it was either her or one of the doctors that said that, breast milk is important just because as the baby grows, the woman's body evolves as well. So it's like the growth of the baby, the evolution of the woman's body in producing the milk keeps up with the growth of the baby. Now, I found that to be highly fascinating. I was like, wow, I didn't think about that the mother is creating the necessary nutrients for the baby as the baby is growing. Whereas with formula, that may not be the case. But I'm wondering, okay, again, going back to that other part of it, which is, hey, mothers are going through suffering and can't produce and all of those things. So it's like, what should be done if mothers can't find baby formula?
I think that this is on the government, the United States government. We've known for a little while now about this contamination in the plant. So reaching out to those places that have safe standards of formula, like I believe Australia is one of them, and making sure that they're getting that formula in so that we have something. Of course, we don't want anything, because that's how we got here in the first place, because there actually were 3 babies that died from that contamination. So we don't want that, but making sure that in places where they do have safe consumption and formula, that we're already doing something. They passed the $28 million emergency spending bill to help with this shortage, but we need to get this process moving a little bit quicker. I know that they also are going to be streamlining the process, which I think will help. So I think they said within a week or two, we should be able to get more of that formula on the shelves. And then also making sure that they're not as because it was very, very lax in those formula plants. We need to have more regulations to make sure these are our babies. This is our future. We have to make sure that our future is protected. We can't do that without our children. And so we need more regulations to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to share with folks, with the American Academy of Pediatrics had to say, Keena, let's throw this quote on the screen, where it talked about that there, as a result of this nationwide formula shortage, it really has exacerbated an already fraught healthcare issue in the United States. Now, check this out. This is what the American Academy of Pediatrics said. Keena, let's throw this up there. It says, according to them, babies should be breastfed until they are 1 or older. And the Center for Disease Control and Prevention states that breast milk is the best source of nutrition in those early months. But check this out. The medical and economic realities of new parenthood in America can make that 1-year finish line an impossible goal for many mothers. By 6 months, the majority of new mothers give their babies some formula for reasons ranging from problems with latching and milk supply to the demands of work outside the home. So now this formula shortage, according to the New York Times, is forcing many new mothers to push themselves harder to breastfeed, even looking for ways to start again after having stopped, a difficult, if not impossible, pursuit since breasts stopped producing milk soon after a baby stops feeding from them. Wow.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you lose it. Like that is definitely something that happens. As a person who I was very sick with my first two, so I was not able to breastfeed my first two. I did breastfeed my third child. So I think that it is a it's a natural thing because this is what we're supposed to do. But it can be difficult for some people, especially if you're experiencing things like postpartum depression. It can be very difficult. So I think that we do need to, of course, it is the best form. If you can breastfeed, do it. But if you can't, I wouldn't look down on you for not doing that.
Right.
So I think to also emphasize that, because we don't have great healthcare in this country to the point where we don't have good like once you have a baby, they give you 3 months and it's like, you got to go back to work. We can't just sit here and breastfeed the baby for a year. So the only thing you can do, you can pump it, but then you have to hope that your company has a lactation center where you can pump so you're not in a dirty bathroom. And it's a whole thing. So
it's definitely a whole thing. It's definitely a whole thing. And I think that this is where the community comes in to fill the gaps, right? Like this is where, women should get together. And of course, with men in full support, that women should get together and figure out, okay, how do we do this for our community? How we make sure that that if somebody is going to the store, going to one of these big, Sam's Club type stores, then they's like, okay, maybe we need to work with each other, rationing out. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of very realistic ways that the community can help with struggling mothers, you know? And see, this gets back to the fact of Lise. That's why it's important to have that level of support system. Just in moments like this, when you know that there's a shortage, when you know that there's certain that mom down the street or that mom across the street needs some help, that the community comes in and to fill in the gap. And I don't know if that sounds unrealistic.
No, I think that is exactly right. Like if you are, I'm not going to say hoarding milk, because there were people that were buying up milk and now they're selling it. Don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you're buying formula, let's not try to make a surplus off of it and make a profit. Let's not do that as a community, because these are real babies here that are suffering. So I agree with you. If you see one, don't take all of them. Save one for the next person so that somebody else can get it. I think those are realistic things that we can do now, but I think we also have to put more pressure on our government in order to make sure that they are bringing in safe formula for those babies and mothers who cannot breastfeed a little quicker, so that they can get that sooner rather than later, since this is something that's been going on for a while.
Yeah. I hope that, and I mean, of course, on the government side of things, trying to get things back up, and I know supply chain and all of that issue. But, again, it's going back to this point, Lisa, that I think that we should really keep in mind. When the government is not able to do or fail to do certain things, that's when the community becomes the source of alleviating some of the pain and the pressure and the burden on a lot of people. And that's why it's important for us to even have a quote unquote a community, to cultivate a community, to cultivate a group of people that are going to say, you know what, we're going to be here even when the government isn't. We're going to be here even when our elected official isn't. That's the beauty of community. You can rely on it. And I hope families understand, again, this is another opportunity that we can build community all across this country, especially among the, our neighborhoods, Black people. But then you can also build a bridge to other neighborhoods. Like community has to be at the forefront of our thinking. So that way we don't get caught up in a situation like this, because I don't foresee supply chain issues being remedied anytime soon, to be honest with you, Lise. You know what I'm saying? When food is down, when those toiletries weren't coming into the stores, like you gotta figure out how to support yourself, how to support your family. That's where the community steps up.
Yeah, I think that they will be getting the imports soon. But as far as Abbott, which is also a problem, that we only have a couple of companies that are actually producing formula. Let's start there. Like, why is that? Where you have these conglomerates, these monopolies who control everything. We see that in a lot of different industries. So that's something to look at as well. But Abbott has 8 to 10 weeks before they will get new products, but they haven't really given a date on when they're actually going to start manufacturing. So I'm thinking that within probably maybe 3 months or so, we probably will start to see more formula on the shelves, but that's a long time. So I agree with you. As a community, if you see it, make sure you get it for a new mom, even if she's a neighbor. Like we're not very neighborly anymore as a society, but maybe just you see one, buy one and give it to someone. Like let's start there.
Exactly. Folks, we're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about trends, posts, and doing the most. So stay with us. That's coming up at you right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, let's talk about what's trending right now. We got a few moments left. I thought this was pretty interesting. Let's talk about Michael Jackson. Lisa, do you like Michael Jackson?
Oh yeah, I was a big fan of Michael Jackson. Still am.
Okay. You got to ask people questions like that nowadays. You can't assume that everybody's a fan. I'm serious.
You do. I mean, it is a different time, but you know me, I'm a millennial. I'm a grandmama millennial. I grew up on Michael.
You said you were what kind of millennial?
A grandmama. I'm an older set millennial.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term, so. But you are Millennials Anonymous podcast host, so you keep up with the terminology better than I do. Okay, grandmama millennial. All right, cool. Wait a minute, that makes me grandpapa millennial.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so here's the situation with Michael Jackson, folks. Because this is pretty cool. Michael Jackson estate is planning to release a 40th anniversary of Thriller with a deluxe release. Check this out. It will be a double CD release featuring never before heard songs from the album's recording session. Thriller is turning 40 this year, and in commemoration, Jackson Estate and Sony Music announced they will release this double CD edition of the album on November the 18th.
I think that's amazing. I really do.
I wonder how many songs.
I don't know, because back in the day, you got like 50 songs. Like they gave you a lot of songs, and they were long too. Remember when songs was like 7 minutes?
That's because Michael Jackson at that time was making movies on wax.
True, but even if you listen to the intro was like 2 minutes by itself.
Thriller 40. Well, take a look at. Wait a minute. When y'all saw this video, tell me, yo, did anybody get scared out of their mind when they saw this video?
I was terrified.
If you remember this video from back in the 80s, to all of my online culture crew, y'all remember this video? Look at this. I got scared as all outdoors.
I didn't see this till the 90s, and it still scared me. I was like,
I was scared. I was in love with her.
But you were terrified.
I'll save you, baby. My little self. I'll save you. But I don't know if Keenan, if we have, but once they broke out and danced, the video was done for me. I was, you know how you break up your furniture, you know.
I think everybody knows the dance. Even if you don't dance, you know the dance of Thriller. That's how impactful that was.
Did somebody look at this, man? I do not like. Sometimes I don't like our culture crew online, man. They be making jokes about stuff. Shalinda and Brother King Lee, stop saying when he was black. He was always black. Y'all wrong about Michael Jackson. Look at this. No, this is pure genius. Like, woo!
This
oh my gosh.
Culture. Do you hear me? This
man, come on. Now, what did they call the jacket? Least they call it the zipper joint. What was the zipper? Everybody had one in the hood.
And the glove.
Or some knockoff version.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the company that made the original jacket. Somebody tell me.
That's a great question, because I think that
who made the original Michael Jackson jacket
went for a lot of money to a couple. What was it?
Come on, culture crew. Y'all talk
like
to
$1
me,
million
man.
or something. Somebody bought that jacket for it. It was something crazy.
I don't even know. I know what I like. My mom. I don't know if they can look. My parents shopped at my mom shopped at like Burlington and some of those big stores. Couldn't find them joints, man.
You got
Couldn't
you a
find
plastic.
them joints. I know King Lee. Y'all know you were joking, brother. It's all good. Yeah, I don't know who made that jacket. B. Dillon, remember that Living Color skit with Tommy Davidson? Yo, wow, boy. Yo, wow. Somebody made that jacket. Dizzle, I see you, bro. DeAndre, 50 songs. If she thinks 7-minute songs are long, try listening to African music, particularly South African music. They know how to build up a jam. LOL. Yeah. I wonder how many songs you're going to get on that joint, man.
A lot.
You're going to get a lot of songs. How many people going to buy it?
I would buy it. I would so buy that.
I mean, I don't want to cover the logo. I will.
Actually, I hope it comes on an actual vinyl. Is it just going to be a CD or a vinyl?
If they put out a 40 year, like a Thriller 40, they gotta put, you can't put Thriller out on no streaming. That gotta come with a whole picture book.
Vinyl.
You gotta have a vinyl, you gotta have a CD, or what do they call those little things you could just plug into your computer? I mean, something. A code, maybe a QR code.
Yeah, something. I need.
But you gotta get like a box. How much you want to bet Roland going to get something special from the Jackson estate? He's going to show it on this video. He'll be like, y'all, I got this thing from the Jackson estate. Take a look. This is how much they love me.
Yeah, we're not that special. We're not that special.
Be like, Brother Roland, stop it. I'm hating hard on you, sir. I'm hating hard on you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. November 18th. Y'all know that Michael Jackson, he died on June 25th. That date will forever stay in my head.
Yeah.
June 25th. June 25th will forever stay in my head. All right, so that's what's happening there. Let me talk about something else that are trending right now. The painting that made famous by Good Times sells for 15.2 million.
Wow.
They call this painting the Sugar Shack. The iconic Ernie Barnes painting is also on the cover of Marvin Gaye's I Want You LP. It was sold to Bill Perkins at a Christie's auction.
Wow.
It is the famous painting that's seen on Good Times, but $15.2 million. Ernie Barnes made this painting back in 1976, an acrylic on canvas piece. And it appeared in the 5th and 6th season of the 1970s sitcom. And according to Christie's auction house, the painting sold for 76 times its estimate of $150,000 to $200,000 and had 22 bidders interested.
Wow. See, Black culture. That's Black culture. Look how influential.
Mr. Barnes, thank you, sir. The man who bought the painting said he would have paid a lot more for it. For certain segments of America is more famous than the Mona Lisa. Wow.
I agree with that.
Wow.
And I hope the family gets a piece of it.
You hope the what family?
His estate, the guy Barnes. Do they get?
Oh, yeah.
I hope.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can you imagine having you created? Now, suppose Mr. Barnes like made that painting in like a day. He'd be like, just something I threw together. And you know how artists are. They're so critical of each other. Like, it's not one of my favorite works.
Yeah.
But the next thing you know, your joint sells. But I mean, you made it back in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, like 40, nearly 50 years ago?
Yeah.
And now your painting sells for $15 million.
Right. So I'm hoping it's children, because he does have children. I just looked it up. So I'm hoping they got a little piece of that. Something.
Yeah, me too. Christopher, you said it will never go down in value. Not at this point. Not up in here, Christopher. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So those are what's trending right now. Elise, it's always a pleasure having you on Tuesdays.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoy you for chatting with us and keeping it real with us as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, make sure y'all check out Millennials Anonymous podcast hosted by our very own Lise Winnie. Lise,
I got something.
Where's the website folks can go check you out at?
Millennials. You got to put
with
a Z on,
because she always says that.
.us, and you can go to Millennials Anonymous. We have news there, and my podcast is there, and all of that jazz. And shout out to Millennials versus the World, which is not me. It's another podcaster who is a millennial. There will be a podcast party in Laurel. So if you go to my social media account at Lise Winnie, I will be posting it there. So if you want to come see me this Saturday at 7 p.m. in Laurel, please.
You're having a podcast party.
Yeah, it's not mine. I'm just gonna be a panelist, but yeah.
Oh, you want to be a panelist? Because I was about to say, like, yo, we've been talking for weeks.
I just got invited,
and I ain't even get an invite, yo. I'm learning about the party on air. You know?
I just got invited, but you are welcome to come.
Okay, all right, cool, no problem. Lise Winnie, host of Millennials Anonymous podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part, and certainly thank you for being so good for the culture, Lise. Thank you.
And thank you. Absolutely.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure y'all continue to support us, blackstarnetwork.com. Do your part to support Black-owned media that's unfiltered, unadulterated, and always unapologetically Black. You can do that at blackstarnetwork.com. You can provide some financial support. You can download the app for free, or you could just simply say, I do all of that, Farajii. Can I do more? Yes, you can. You can share and let people know that Black Star Network is on. We got great programming, and it's all just for you. We will have the conversations that will keep Black folks at the heart of the matter. And you know that is something that is very, very hard to find in this media space that we're all in. So Black Star Network is the place to go for Black media to hear Black news. And even when we don't agree about issues, guess what? At the end of the day, you're my brother, you're my sister, we're still family, we're still community, and we'll find a way to make it all work out. So blackstarnetwork.com. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time hour. Make sure y'all tune into what Brother Roro is talking about and all of the good things that are happening. And we are always, always grateful for Brother Roland giving us the opportunity in this platform to continue to have these important conversations. I thank all of my culture crew online, both on Facebook and YouTube. Continue to have the discussions. You can follow me on all of my social media right there at the bottom there. And I look forward to having these discussions. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.